Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, it's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. James, man, this is episode 98. We're creeping on triple digits here, buddy. So for tonight, we're going to do Name That Stadium first off, like we always do. Then we're going to hit the news from this past week. After that, we're going to do our, whatever you want to call it, super early 2022 NFL team record predictions. And then we'll close things off with question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's good, man. It's good. I tell you, I mentioned earlier before the show, I switched laptops this week. And so that's been a little bit of a process, but I got everything going here. We're using the old one tonight to make the show work. And I found a way to get all my ranking or well, I started off with like a power ranking and then got into my record predictions, and so made it all happen, man. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, I tell you, I was surprised with some of the things on when I did my records. Certain teams I thought would do better. Certain teams I was like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, I mean that happens every year, and it's. I mean, we'll talk about it a lot tonight, but it's like, yeah, sometimes you look at the schedule and you're like, wow, this team's got a freaking brutal schedule, or you're like, holy cow, that team's got like a easy freaking schedule, and it's like, so yeah, it can totally skew things. And I mean, you covered it pretty good a couple weeks ago with the strength of schedule, and then can be deceiving because you got different time zones and travel miles and all these different factors that are. It's really hard to put them all in to like one kind of formula to figure it out. But no, dude, it's cool, and it's obviously way early, and so I'm sure as we get closer to the season we're going to fine tune things and we're going to see where it goes. But I like what I came up with so far. I'm sure you and I will be aligned on some things, and we'll be kind of far off on other things, just because that's the nature of the beast.
Oh, I think I'm not certain how aligned we're going to be looking at what I came up with. It's mind blowing how bad I have some teams this
Oh,
records this year.
gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. All right. Well, save it for when we get there because I want to talk about methodology, how you came up with everything, and what kind of adjustments you might have made or whatever as you went back and fine-tuned your predictions. But we'll talk about that in a little bit, man. Let's move it over. Let's do Name That Stadium. And so, for anybody who's watching, this is a part of the show where, as you can see, James is out there traveling the country. Every week he's got a different stadium in his background. Uh, we're just asking if you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in our comments section. First person to get the right answer will get a special shout out in next week's show. And so, James, where were you at last week, man?
Last week I was in Dallas, and I picked Dallas last week because looking at the schedule, I thought they had one of the easiest, like it lined up perfectly for them on how like they kind of started out with a couple hard teams, but they had a fairly easy schedule, so I went with Dallas.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So a little bit of rhyme to the reason, so to speak, and so yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, cool. Well, let's move over and do our recap of the past week. And so, James, the first thing I saw it today. I think it just happened today. David Njoku, tight end for the Cleveland Browns. He signed a 4-year, $56.75 million extension, which makes him the fourth highest paid tight end on an annual basis. It's crazy, man. These contracts, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And, Njoku, when he came out, tons of potential. And I think the potential's always been there. We've seen kind of some of the flashes, but to put him at top four for pay, I don't know that he's necessarily earned it yet. I hate saying it that way.
Mhm.
But, I hope he proves it because, like I said, all the talent's there. We've seen the flashes from this guy. It just seems like it's been so streaky and inconsistent throughout his career. let's see if he can put it all together now.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the number on it, and my initial thought was, what the fuck? What has he shown to get what is that?
It
50, $57 million over 4 years.
it's like 14 and change a year.
Yeah, it's like what has he shown to get $14 million a year? Like he has like no stats whatsoever. He's every year it's either a bust. A couple years what like that wasn't he hurt for like half the season like two
Yep.
years ago, and it's just like what what are they thinking?
I don't, I mean, I think they're paying for the potential. He's a dual threat kind of guy where he can block, he can catch. And I think maybe with Deshaun Watson coming into town, they're thinking they're going to make some freaking sweet magic or sweet music or whatever. But it's um, it's a bit of a gamble, man. Now, 4 years, not the end of the world if it doesn't work out. Like I didn't see the guaranteed money, but they say usually you can get 2 years into that and cut them if it's not working. But it's high, and I think that part of it too is that we saw like what happened in the wide receiver market this year. These annual pay levels are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think teams are expecting the salary cap to keep going up and up and up. And so it's
Hmm.
almost like in time, maybe this deal doesn't look that egregious, but like right now, there's a little bit of shell shock, I think.
Yeah, and like the fucked up thing is like isn't like one of the ones that are paid one of the tight ends that get more than him per year? Isn't Taysom Hill get like 17 million a year or something
Oh,
ridiculous like that?
well, yeah, I guess if they're saying he's fully tight end now, then yeah, it's he's one of the higher ups. See, Taysom Hill's tough because the gadget role he's played all these years. You can argue he's had more value on the field overall. Uh, but if they play him exclusively at tight end this year, definitely got to reevaluate that with him.
Yeah. Oh, and well, looking at it, apparently last year he was fourth among tight ends in yards per target and first in yards per catch, tied for first in yards per catch.
Gotcha.
So I mean that's not that bad, but I mean they only targeted him 88 times last year. No, that was 2018. Total 148 receptions in 5 seasons. Last
Yeah.
year,
So
36
30 a year.
catches, 36, 475 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's what else he brings to the game that makes it worth it, because they put him in at running back, they put him in at quarterback. He does some special team stuff. He's getting it all around.
Yeah, and it's about half of it's guaranteed. So you're right, about 2 years.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, yeah, so let's just keep it going here. I saw, OTAs have been kicking off, and there's been the news about guys like Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers not at OTAs, and I don't know, man. I think it's no surprise. Every year there's a handful of these big name guys that don't go to OTAs, and I think in Lamar's case, he's waiting for a new deal. So why would he go and risk getting injured? I think with Rodgers, you make the argument that it's like, hey, man, you got like basically an entirely new wide receiver room. It might be good to get in there and build some chemistry with these guys, but it's Rodgers. I'm sure he'll pick it up quick with these guys anyhow. And then either way, it's freaking Rodgers. So whatever.
Yeah, fuck. Last year he didn't go to OTAs and he won the MVP. So
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. He's a well-seasoned veteran. If he doesn't think he needs to go to OTAs, so be it. They're not mandatory for a reason, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
all right. So keeping it plugging along here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they announced that they've hired Omar Khan to be their new GM. replacing Kevin Colbert, who was there forever and always did a solid job filling in that roster. Khan, he's a hire from within, and the article I read talked a lot about how supposedly he had been groomed for years behind Colbert to eventually get this promotion. And so I like reading that. I think it's good when a team can develop people from within. Just in general, I think businesses, there's reasons to go outside and then there's reasons to go from within. It sets a good message to people that it's like, hey, if you put in your time, there's room for promotion, there's a path, there's all those nice things. And hopefully this guy's ready to take those reins, man.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing Baltimore did when they moved when
Yeah, Ozzie Newsome retired.
Ozzie Newsome retired and what's his face? DaCosta, is it?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it's
Eric DaCosta.
Eric DaCosta. Yeah, I want to say I wanted to look it up. I mean, and DaCosta. Yep, Eric DaCosta. I was right. And I mean, DaCosta proved that it worked if you teach them, especially when you have somebody there as long as you just
Ozzie
said the guy.
Newsome.
Well, no, Ozzie, but in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Colbert. Yeah.
Kevin Colbert. Sorry, I just drew a blank. I didn't know what the fuck was wrong with me. But you have somebody there as long as him, and you're grooming the guy to take over for you. You're keeping that organizational culture, and he's already involved in the draft picks and already involved in everything. So he just gets to know. So you don't have to have a real transition when you have somebody from within. When you bring in somebody from outside, you have to kind of transition, and everyone gets used to his style and whatever, and there could be a gap there.
Yeah. By doing it from within, it's like you're getting to build off of what was already there, bringing in a new guy. Sometimes, yeah, you're starting fresh, which can have some growing pains potentially.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. So next up, news that I don't really care to report, but I'm going to do it anyhow because it's just part of the game here. Colin Kaepernick, he worked out for the Raiders the other day. There's no deal imminent. Josh McDaniels, basically has said he doesn't even want to talk about the workout. But obviously, it has to be mentioned because it's Kaepernick and it's, all over the frickin' news. The dude played last, I think, 2017. So, I mean, it's 16. Thank you. So it's been a long time. It's, I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it seems like the window has closed. When you're out of the league for that long, I'm just hard pressed to think he could get back into it at this stage of the game. But, all it takes is one team giving him a shot, whether it's as a backup or whatever else. I don't think he could come in and be a starter. So who knows? So we'll see. And then, we talked a little while back about the Antonio Brown part of this, saying, hey, this guy's just trying to stay in the spotlight or whatever it was you were telling
Mm-hmm.
me. And, so another team game of workout. So who knows?
So if you kind of go back on it, it's a little bit in depth. Like in 2000, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019. Mark Davis had said, if the coach's GM want to bring him in, that's fine, whatever, or sign him, he'd support it. And also, if you look at the Raiders' backup quarterback currently, which is Jared Stidham.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense. I think even being out of the league for 6 years and out of football for 6 years, that Kaepernick would be better than Jared Stidham. And, Kaepernick kind of fucked up because when he was kind of blackballed from the league, he should have gone and tried to play in the CFL to keep his skills up. And instead, he's just kind of been doing who knows what.
Yeah, who knows how much rust he's got on him at this point. It's you're taking a gamble for a guy being away that long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know, Stidham, wasn't he a Patriots pick? So McDaniel's probably familiar with him, knows the guy knows his system, and
I thought, was he Patriots? For some reason, I thought he was.
Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody.
New York Giants.
Yeah, let's just take a look real quick because now I'm curious.
How the hell do you spell his name?
Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm showing him in a Patriots uniform. Yeah, selected by New England in the fourth round of 2019. Um, yeah, and I can't. I want to say I remember that when he was brought in, I mean, it was like a McDaniels thing. The guy knows him, knows the playbook. It kind of made sense. But yeah, you could get a higher end backup than him for sure. And I think you could get a higher end backup than him that's not Colin Kaepernick. It's just a matter of, really who do you want and going out and getting the guy. There's a lot of good backups floating around out there, man.
Yeah, there's yeah.
I mean, frickin' what's his face that took the Vikings deep in the playoffs. You know who I'm talking
Oh,
about. He just got traded
uh,
to what was it, Washington or whatever, to be their backup.
Case Keenum.
Or yeah, Keenum. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
but the thing with Kaepernick, and this is okay. The NFL is a business.
Yep.
If the Raiders were to sign him with how much the Raiders fandom is, and then you add Kaepernick on top of that, his jersey would become probably one of, if not the highest
Yeah,
selling
I
jerseys in
I
the
got
league,
you.
and
It'd be a money
and that
thing. Yeah.
it'd be a money grab, and that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I got you. Can't forget the business side. Got to make a buck.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the last thing I got here, James, is talking about Michael Thomas in New Orleans. Head coach Dennis Allen came out, said he's not quite ready to play yet, which is a concern, seeing as how he missed all of last year and a good portion of the season before. Um, and you might remember there was like that whole debate over, if or when he was going to get surgery, and he didn't want to get surgery, and then he needed to have the surgery. And, this is just like turning into a forever thing for a guy that's making like freaking huge money as a wide receiver. Um, you know, it bothers me a little bit. I want to see the guy play. I'm sure it bothers
Mhm.
the team, and all I can say is it's good that they went out and drafted, Chris Olave, however you say his name, from Ohio State, and then they also brought in Jarvis Landry. So they got a little bit of insurance on this guy, which they didn't really have there last year. But crap, man, for the money this guy's getting paid, man, he's got to get his ass on the field, man.
Yeah, he does. And the thing of it is last year, like basically from what I understood about the whole surgery non-surgery thing, was at the end of the season they knew he needed two procedures. He just took some time off and then had the surgery late, and that it's. I mean, hey, it's a good way to collect a paycheck and not do shit if you're unhappy.
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't know, dude. I hate thinking that way, but it's hard to not think that way. 'Cause it's like, geez, man, I mean, if you really wanted to be on the field, you would have been Johnny on the spot with this stuff. But then again, I'm not walking in his shoes, if I had an injury, and who knows, maybe he had different doctors telling him different things. And so, it's always more complicated than what we know. So,
Yeah, exactly.
um, yeah, so that's all I've got, man. Anything else from the news that you want to hit that I missed?
So the one thing, and I think it's a good thing, the NFL kind of um, modified the interviewing procedures for head coaching candidates,
Okay.
and now it can't be till after the end of Wild Card Weekend. From what I understand before, they could have done it at any time prior to that, as long as they got permission, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but now they're waiting. They're saying no, you can't do it till the end, until after wildcard weekend, because there are coaches that are assistant coaches that make the wild card, and by the time they're available to be interviewed, because some of these coaches have been out for at the end of the regular season. That week is vital, and
Yep.
giving that extra week, so you're kind of putting everybody on more of an even playing field. I honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that they should be able to interview until after the conclusion of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because you're missing a lot of time to try and get these guys in and talk about who they're looking to draft or get in free agency. And so I understand the urgency to get a guy in as soon as possible, but I'm with you that I think if you really want to have an even playing field and you want to make sure that you're not fucking with the quality of the playoffs, you just make it the rule. Nobody can interview until after the Super Bowl's done. And then it's like, okay, go fucking crazy. I'd be all for that, man. Because you know what's going to happen is you're going to get some hotshot coordinator to go interviewing, and then they're going to lose in the playoffs because the dude didn't have his eye on the ball, and it's going to be like, fucking A, man. Like it could taint things. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the thing that I think about is the whole McDaniel situation with Indianapolis and how
Yeah, he
like
reneged on him.
yeah, it was like for like 2 or 3 weeks it was certain that he was going to be their coach. He told them they were being coach. They made the Super Bowl, whatever, and then like the day of the press conference, he called them and said, "Nope, I'm not coming."
Yeah.
We were like,
And hey, it worked out for Frank Reich, at least so far, but uh, it was a dick move big time, man. And honestly, I'm surprised that he keeps getting looks as a head coach and that even now the Raiders have hired him as head coach. It's like, geez, man, this guy is, I don't know, man. He didn't do anything in Denver when he was there. And so it's like, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, but
yeah.
hey, I mean, it makes sense for the Raiders. Can he take Carr to that next level? If anybody can do it, it's probably him, but I don't know. So,
Well, see, the thing with Carr is he was right there at that next level 3 years ago
yeah,
when he got hurt. He would have been the fucking MVP that year, and then he blew out his knee or did whatever happened to him. He got hurt, and that like missed the last 4 games of the season, and he just hasn't been the same since then.
gotcha. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, my big knock on him is like this past year's a great example. Lots of yards, good completion percentage, all that stuff, but he doesn't get the ball in the end zone enough, and that's an issue. It's like,
Yeah,
we had that problem with Stafford for a lot of years where it was like, okay, great. Early in your career, you had like one blow up season, and then it was like surrounded by 4,000 yards every year, but with like 20 something touchdowns. It's like when you look at the real good passers, like, and I mean, you can't compare them to these elite guys, but it's hard not to. It's like you look at, a guy like Rodgers or Drew Brees or whoever, and it's like if they're throwing for 4,000 yards, they're going to have like 35 plus touchdowns. It's like, but Stafford was always like so far below that. And it's like if you can't finish it and get it in the end zone, it really means nothing. And so that's my knock on Carr. He's got good stats minus the touchdowns, and so hopefully that's something he works on with McDaniels.
yeah. Hopefully, and McDaniel's offense seems to be pretty good at that. So
Yeah, and I mean he's got Devontae Adams now, so I mean that's the biggest talent he's had in his career.
yeah, and I mean he already has the chemistry with Adams because of the time at Fresno State.
Yeah, Fresno State. Yep.
Yeah, I hesitated because I started to think maybe that was his brother that went to Fresno State.
No, I'm pretty sure it was him. You got it right.
Yeah, where did his brother went to some small school too, like that.
Yeah, I can't remember where David went, but that's all right. You can look it up.
Yeah, it was. And David went to Fresno State. So did both of them go to Fresno State?
Well, let's just check it out. Yeah, they both went to Fresno
Okay.
State. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why I was hesitating and thinking David went to Fresno State because he did.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, what else you got for news?
That was about it.
Okay. Well, dude, let's get to it, James. Let's do our super early 2022 NFL team record predictions. I think last year we did it by division. And so, we could start that way, top down, and then when we're done, we can move on, talk about our playoff predictions, and take it from there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, so let's see. Pulling up my sheet here. Starting off with the AFC East, James. Why don't you give me your predictions?
So I only have one team above 500 in the AFC East.
No shit.
Yeah, and that's Buffalo. I have them at 15-2.
Okay.
Um, I like how Buffalo's schedule lines up. Kind of looking at the teams that they play. I mean, they have a couple hard teams, but I think Buffalo, with what they did in this past offseason, last year they were an 11-win team, and they probably should have won more than that. And I don't see. I struggle to find losses on their schedule.
Yeah.
Because just how fucking good they are, and you could say, okay, well, what about the Rams? I think they're going to beat the Rams on opening night. I think the Rams are going to be a little distracted.
I'm with you too on that. Yeah.
And like I have them losing, well, the last game of the season because they sit everybody because they already have the bye wrapped up, and another game in there. I fell in love with Buffalo and what they were building there 2 years ago, and it just keeps growing.
Okay.
On that. Then I have Miami. Miami is just below 500. I have them at 8-9. Miami is supposed to be a good team this year, but they have a hard fucking schedule for them. I don't think they're ready for this schedule. They start out basically with Vegas and Kansas City. Nope, never mind. They start out with New England, but then they have Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati. And then later in the year, they have Chargers, Buffalo, Green Bay. Chargers, Buffalo, Green Bay. It's like it's a hard schedule for them.
Yeah.
And it didn't line up quite that nice for them. So I have them at 8-9.
Okay.
I think this offseason, New England took steps back from last year. I thought they overachieved last year, and with taking steps back, I have them at 7-10.
Gotcha.
They start off with kind of a rough schedule. A little bit. They have, they're at Miami, which they never do good at Miami. They're at Pittsburgh, and then Baltimore, Green Bay. So I have them starting out 1-4.
Okay.
And then, their one win is Detroit, but they play Indianapolis, they play Arizona, they play Vegas, they play Cincinnati. It's just a hard schedule for them.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of the AFC East, I have the New York Jets. And I have them at 2-5.
2-15. Shit.
2-15. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is they start off with a fucking brutal schedule.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, Denver.
Yeah. No. It's it's a rough start for them, big time.
It's like, what the fuck? The league could have done them some favors with the schedule. But yeah, I have them at 2-15.
Okay. So yeah, all right. We're already, I would say, we're seeing some similarities and some differences right here in the first division. So I had Buffalo at 14-3. I agree with you. It's hard to find losses on their schedule. And I think with the way the year ended in the playoffs with them, Josh Allen's going to come back with a vengeance. And as long as he stays healthy, I actually think they can beat 14-3 and have a better record than that. It's just tough. It's tough, like saying, oh, they're going to go 17-0 or whatever. It's so 14-3 for them. I got the Patriots second there at 11-6. And James, I don't know what it is, man, but I feel like I can never count out Belichick. It may be a little bit high, especially compared to what you're doing with them, but I'm rolling with it. I think a lot of this is dependent on Mac Jones developing as a passer. They brought in Devontae Parker's going to help him. Um, you know, it's just Belichick, man. They spent big the other year in free agency. This offseason, I agree with you, has been underwhelming, but I think it's really a continuation of what was set in motion the year before. And so that's where I'm giving them kind of that benefit of the doubt. Miami, I put at 10-7, and this was a tough one for me. I scrutinized it a lot, and I just feel like they've got a solid roster. We saw how well they played with Flores. It was dicey that the second year with him, where it was horrible at the start and then amazing at the finish. But I believe the Dolphins, especially after this offseason, have a really solid roster. And I think their new head coach is going to do a good job putting Tua in position to win. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to play good defense. And then when Tua's got to throw it, they're going to set him up with good play action passes. And he's got some serious weapons in Miami. And so when they came out to 10-7 in my schedule, in my predictions here, I poked at it a little bit, but I left it because I really kind of thought, okay, it could happen. We'll see. And then in the last spot, I got the Jets at 4-13. Yeah, James, man, it sucks. I wanted to find these guys more wins, but I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do it. Maybe as the season gets closer, there'll be some more reason for optimism with them because, I mean, we talked about it. They had a phenomenal draft. I think that this team is moving in the right direction. It just is like they're so far off that they've got a lot of work to do before they really dig themselves out of the hole. And a lot of it's going to hinge on Zach Wilson. If he progresses nicely this year, well, then we can say, yeah, I mean, they could easily get some more wins because, I mean, shit, they had like two of the big upsets last year. Like this
Mm-hmm.
team can randomly pop. And so we'll see what happens there. But looking at it right now, it was hard to come up with something. Um, and before we move on, James, let's just talk about methodology for a minute, because that's something I wanted to um, go through with you. So, like when I put this together, I started off basically by doing uh, like a power rankings, and then I went in and based on my power rankings, I went to like different sources like lineups and PFF and all these different places, and I tried to grade each team. Looking at their roster today. Who do I think has the strongest roster? Who do I think has the weakest? And then kind of making sure that it jived with my power rankings. And then from there, I tried to do just a very simple home versus away. If you're playing on the road, we're going to ding you a little bit versus if you're at home. And then when I went through, I looked at the schedule game by game and just compared and picked out that way. When it was all said and done, I went back through with a fine tooth comb and I did some of the things like you were saying. Okay, these guys week 18, probably resting some starters, so drop a win there. These guys, okay, coming off a bye here, maybe they get a win there. Like stuff like that. And so, what was your methodology for how you did it, man?
So I started with the power ranking like you did, and then I went through kind of game by game and did a quick gut check on who I felt would win that game. Then I went back through it and looked at the situations between the game, like is it away, is the team flying back from London that week? Are they in London? This team does good in London. This team, stuff like shit like that, and kind of tweaked my wins losses based on the situation behind the game and all those other external factors. And then I went and looked at it and I was like, okay, so I have this team here, and this team has it locked up. This team, like like for instance, we'll get to it in a minute, but like I have the we'll get to it, like the Cincinnati and the Chargers. I have them vying for a seed there.
Okay.
So they're gonna play their players. Or Buffalo. I had Buffalo had it already locked up, going into number one seed locked up. So they're not gonna play their players. And just looked at like the last week of the season to tweak it to see how I thought the season was going to progress, and if the team would buckle under the pressure or if they would excel under the pressure, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's it's good going deep on that. And then, like even team specific, like you're saying, um, I built in with Cleveland, for example, that I was expecting a 6-game suspension for Watson, and that factored in big time, to be honest. And then with the Lions, I looked at timing of when do I think Jamison Williams is going to be on the field and hit some kind of a stride. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of things like that it's important to try to get nitty gritty. And of course, we're in May. And so by the time the season starts, a lot will change between now and then. Guys will get hurt, guys will get traded. You know, we'll hear positive news about people, negative news about people, and then, the season will start and all shit could break loose. People, key guys go on IR or who knows, and you scrap the whole thing, But yeah, for now, that's cool, man. I think we both did a pretty deep dive on this. Okay, so let's go to the AFC North. So James, why don't you, give me your rundown here, man?
All right. So with the AFC North, okay, I think you know how they have like the flex game on week 18.
Yes.
I think the Cincinnati Baltimore game is going to be the flex into the Sunday night on week 18.
Okay.
Because I have that game settling the division.
It's interesting you say that. I got the same thing going on here.
And I have Cincinnati winning that game and winning the division at 13-4.
Okay.
Cincinnati's issue kind of last year. Oh, and what it boiled down to on that was ultimately Cincinnati was at home, so that's why I gave Cincinnati the edge.
Nice.
Because earlier in the year I had them losing to Baltimore in Baltimore, and it's that but Cincinnati they're making improvements on the offensive line. I like what they're doing. Joe Burrow's just going to get better. He's just going to get better and just get better and better and better and better. And so I have them going 13-4.
Okay.
And which means I have Baltimore going 12-5. I don't think this whole Lamar Jackson not being at OTAs thing is a huge deal. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he'll get his contract. The Ravens have said they're going to give him his contract. He's not at OTAs because he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't really necessarily need to be there. He's also not at OTAs probably because he's a little frustrated that they traded Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. So I have Baltimore at 12-5. I should also mention this is the only division that I have every team above 500.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I have Cleveland at 10-7. And the beginning of the year, like the first 4 games, if Watson is suspended for 6 games, I think the first 4 games are winnable games for Cleveland. And then they kind of get into like a rough stretch. And so having Watson come back week 7, seems like about right for where they're getting into, and then he can get his stride. So I have Cleveland at 10-7, and then I made the mistake last year by predicting Pittsburgh to be sub 500, and what I learned was don't pick Mike Tomlin to go less than 5, not go at a minimum of 500. Since you can't go 500, I have them at 9-8, but rounding out the bottom of the division.
Okay.
I wish there was more good I could say about Pittsburgh, but
yeah,
the quarterback Mitchell Trubisky concerns me. Whoever's playing quarterback for them, plus who who really are they throwing the ball to? They just kind of keep getting rid of everyone. Najee Harris, yeah, he's a good running back, but I don't think they've addressed enough on the offensive line. I think they have a lot of ground to make up to become the Pittsburgh team we expect them. People generally expect them to be.
I agree. In James, I'll start at the bottom just to carry on from that. I'm with you. I got Pittsburgh at the bottom. I put them at 5-12, and my note is that I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak out a few more wins than this, because Tomlin is a solid coach. But they got to show me that they can get it done, because right now I'm not sure about the quarterback situation. The wide receiver situation is a little dicey too. And so, when I look at the schedule, I'm seeing 5-12 until they show me they got adequate quarterback play. Tomlin probably will get it out of them, because like you're saying, he always does. But that's where I'm at with them for now. Cleveland, I got up next at 8-9, and a part of that was because of the Watson suspension that I think could be coming. And that's okay. I think they can still have a good year at 8-9, but it's not a playoff year in my projections. Baltimore, I got them at 10-7. And it's similar to you, James. I had it coming down to that last game, and they lose to Cincinnati. And so Cincinnati, I got at 11-6, which I think is a combination of a tough schedule and a combination of maybe a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. But they fight it out hard, and they still win the division. So I think it's still solid of a year for them. All right. AFC South, James, what you got?
The AFC South is kind of a tale of two teams that are good, two teams that are bad.
It's a good way of putting it.
So you have, I'm going to start at the bottom, and you have Jacksonville, I think, is still the worst team in this division. And I gave Houston the edge because they showed me a lot of gut and grit last year by winning 4 games. And so I have Jacksonville at 3-14, which is still better than what they were last year. It's a step in the right direction. Their schedule really didn't do much favors. Oh, they did some favors to them, some not so much favors to them. Like, they have to play the AFC West, but they get to play the NFC East. So that's where I was. And then I had their third win was the last game of the season against Tennessee, which actually gives Indianapolis the division. And the reason I did that is because Jacksonville did it last year. They knocked a team. It won't be, in this case, it won't be knocking them out of the playoffs, but still they spoiled the end of the season for Indianapolis in this. And Indianapolis, and then so I have Houston at 4-13, which it seems about right. They won 4 games last year. I don't like the fact that they fired their coach after winning 4 games last year.
Yeah.
But with that roster, but they have a lot of strides to make before they can even be a 6-7 win team. Then I have Tennessee at 11-6. Tennessee, the league really didn't do them much favors with their schedule, in the sense that, like, they play Buffalo, Vegas, Indianapolis, and that's weeks 2 through 4.
Yeah.
And then they have a stretch where they play Indianapolis, Houston, Kansas City, Denver, Green Bay, Cincinnati. And it's just like the league really didn't do them much favors with how they lined their schedule up. And I think they have a rough stretch in there. I couldn't, because of this, Tennessee was one of the best teams in the AFC last year, and they got better. All the other teams in the AFC got better too, but I couldn't quite knock them quite out of the playoffs.
Yeah, not Tomlin. Vrabel, man, he just always coaches the shit out of that team.
Yeah, exactly. And then I have Indianapolis at 12-5, winning the division. Look, I think Matt Ryan's going to win the MVP this year.
That'd be awesome.
I think he's got that fuck you attitude. I'm going to show you. And if I remember correctly, they play No, they don't. I was wrong. It's Tennessee that plays them, isn't it? Yeah, one of the teams in the. I thought they played Atlanta, but I was wrong.
Hey, no biggie.
My eyes must have misaligned on something, but I think Matt Ryan has a lot to show. I wish they had more receiver weapons
Oh yeah.
for him, but I think he's gonna come into the season with that "fuck you" attitude.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so for me, um, yeah, we're fairly different in this division. I had Tennessee at the top at 10-7, and my note for Tennessee is just that if Derrick Henry falters in any way, I could see this being a year where they struggle to get to double-digit wins. I think we're seeing some cracks in this roster, and Vrabel coaches the heck out of them. But it is a tough schedule, and so they've got to be on it, and they got to be on it all year. I've got Indy at 9-8, and I really wanted them to have some more wins. I just think it's going to be a choppy season when I look at their schedule. Um, and I am a little concerned with Matt Ryan. Part of it is the weapons, part of it is, and I don't have the stat in front of me, but I saw just the other day that, like the past 5 years, man, he's like towards the top of the list with turnovers, which really blew my mind. I didn't think of him as a big turnover guy like that, but so I just kind of toned it down a little bit on them. I still thought 9-8 was a good year, but in my predictions, they just missed the playoff, which I think would be a problem for Frank Reich. I think they'd be looking at chopping him at some point. But then I got Jacksonville at 3-14, and Jacksonville, to me, when I look at Doug Peterson coming in, Trevor Lawrence should get better. I think they had a pretty solid offseason. I'm not going to say like spectacular, lighting the world on fire, but I think they did good. I think they could have some similarities to what Detroit had last year, where they're in a lot of games, some of them that you don't even expect. I think that they're going to be competitive, but they're just not going to get the wins. And so, you know, I think next year, not this year, next year is the year that I'll really be looking at Jacksonville to take a big step up. I don't think it happens here. And then I got Houston at 1-16, and this one killed me, James, because I love the way Davis Mills played last year, and I think he's going to be even better this year. I don't know what the heck it was, man. I went through the schedule, and when I compared their team rating to all of their opponents, it just did not work. It seemed like their only soft games, like Chicago, was at fucking Soldier Field. And so it was like, it drove me nuts, man. It drove me nuts. And so I do believe they're somehow going to do better than this. I couldn't figure it out. So I got them at the bottom here at 1-16.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Like Houston, I had, based on last year and how much toughness and
They played
determination
hard, man. Yeah.
this team showed, I couldn't put them at the bottom. And
Yeah.
so I had, like, that was one of the ways where I kind of just I had to find wins, because I thought I couldn't put them lower than 4 wins.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess I was trying hard to not force it, to let my own bias be like, I'm gonna just make them win here. And so, but no, I get it. Like your mind is telling you there's a floor, and it's just tough. What do you do with that? But all right, man. AFC West. What do you got there?
Okay. This is the division where we are going to be the farthest apart on.
Okay.
I'm going to start at the bottom of the division.
All right, let's hear it.
I have Kansas City at 8-9.
Okay.
They have a hard schedule. I don't like, number one, every team in this division got better besides them. Number two, they have a hard fucking schedule.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, it's brutal how many good teams they play on the schedule, and they have a stretch where they play the Chargers, the Rams, and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yep. Well, then
They have a
even at Denver, which
Yeah,
Denver,
at
who
Denver.
knows.
Like, I mean, they start the season off with at Arizona, the Chargers, at Indianapolis, at Tampa Bay, Vegas, Buffalo. It's like
Yeah, they can't fuck
this.
around.
Yeah, and I just I don't see how this team didn't get better and how they could be above 500 this year, especially as hard as their division is.
Okay.
Then I have then I have Denver, and I waffled on this one because I think Denver, like I've said for a while, Denver's a quarterback away from being a a Super Bowl contender. I the last 2 years I've basically been saying that, and now they have a good quarterback. But the problem is this year isn't the year for it because they have to play the
Yeah, some
AFC
heavy
or
hitters, man. Yeah.
NFC West. They have to play some heavy. The entire AFC got better last year, or from last year. So I have Denver at 9-8.
Okay.
Then I have Vegas at 12-5.
Okay.
You know, but they win 10 games, 11 games, 10 games last year, and they made the playoffs. It's hard for me with adding Devontae Adams, with everything that's going, having the stability, not having all these distractions with Gruden and firing their head coach. It's hard for me to say Vegas isn't gonna do better than they did last year. Even though the rest of the AFC got better, I think Vegas is one of those teams in the AFC that got better and they have less of a distraction. So watch they go 2-15. But but I have them at 12-5. Then I have the Chargers winning the division at 14-3.
Nice.
Um, yeah, the Chargers have to play the same hard team as the same hard teams basically as the Chiefs do. It's just when you look at their schedule, it's they play more of like they play Denver at home where the Chiefs have to go to Denver, and they play who else? They play Indianapolis, but they play the Rams at home where the Chiefs have the Rams at home as well. But it feels a little bit easier for the
Okay.
Chargers this year than it does for Kansas City. So I have them winning the division at 14-3. And for those that are really paying attention to this, what I'm saying here with my AFC schedule is you have to win a minimum of 11 games to make the playoffs this year in the
Yeah.
AFC.
Yeah. James, it's interesting you say that. And so when I look at mine, I actually had this being the toughest division in the AFC. I got three teams winning 11 games or more. And I think it's because it's going to be that competitive. And all these teams have high end quarterbacks. I think that they can all find a way to get those wins because they know they got to win every freaking game or it could
Mhm.
get out of hand quickly. And so I got the Chargers at the top at 13-4.
Wow.
I'm super high on the Chargers, man. Super high. I love what they did this year in the offseason, bringing in Khalil Mack, signing J.C. Jackson. Man, I think that defense is going to give them the boost they need, where they're going to be one of the top teams this year, and I'm excited to see what happens with them. I've got Kansas City winning the tiebreaker for second place. And my note for them, James, is that I'm actually trying to temper my expectations because I could see them losing a couple more games than this. But I guess I had to put some faith in Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think that they know how to win, man. And you go back Andy Reid all his time in Philly, he always found ways to win, man. And now he's got Mahomes. I know they're losing Tyreek Hill, um, but I'm just gonna give him some faith, and we'll see what happens. After that, I got Denver also at 11-6, which I kind of felt like was a little strong for the first year of a new crew on a team, basically, new head coach, new quarterback. Um, but I also think Russell Wilson, he's one of these top competitor guys in the league, and he's going to fight tooth and nail to get these wins. And I do believe, like you were saying, that this was a team that was a quarterback away from getting it done, and so I think they're going to get it done, and they'll get in the playoffs. And then I got the Raiders at 9-8, which I know, I mean, man, James, I've been reading all week about how everybody's high on the Raiders, and maybe I should be more high on the Raiders. I guess I just something about McDaniels bugs me, man. I don't know. I, I I guess I need to see him succeed as a head coach before I believe it. And it can absolutely happen because, like you said, the Raiders won more games last year with all sorts of distractions, all sorts of shit going down. They have, Devontae Adams this year. Um, I don't know. I need to see him do it for me, and then maybe I'll come around to Josh McDaniels. That's all I'm saying. So
which makes sense. Like, I just I was a little bit lower on Kansas City than you
yeah,
basically.
no,
I was surprised. I was surprised how ultimately close we really were because I could see Kansas City winning more games. I could see Denver winning more games. It's just I couldn't pick them to win based on what I was
oh
what I was
yeah,
seeing.
and I could see that flip with Kansas City and the Raiders, where the order's the other way around because it does seem like the arrow is pointing up for the Raiders and it's
Hmm.
pointing down for the Chiefs. So, uh, but yeah, I don't know. Hey, I guess that's my problem. I got an issue with McDaniels, and for whatever reason, part of this too is that this is just where the team ratings came out for me, and so a lot of my biasness, or however you say it kind of gets stripped out when I do that anyhow, and so I might have like fine-toothed one or two games against them, but it wouldn't have been that drastic. But that's all right. All right, man. NFC East. What you got
All
there?
right. So I have this as once again the worst division in football. Um, I have Dallas winning the division at 10-7, and I wanted to give Dallas more wins, but I couldn't find them.
Okay.
Like I feel like Dallas. I'm sorry. I feel like I wanted to give them more wins. I also did. This was my surprise because looking at everything on paper before I started predicting the games, I thought Philadelphia was going to win this division.
They've had a
And
heck of an offseason.
and then once I got into the weeds on it, I couldn't
Yeah.
I couldn't I just Dallas kept coming up and I was like, damn. And I have Philadelphia at second in this division, and I have them at 7-10. And the reason why I have them at 7-10 is because they have some hard games, and one of the games they have some hard teams they play, and like you said, like some of their easy teams, like Chicago's at Chicago.
Yep. Yeah, it's not
Then
doing them any favors.
then I have Washington at 4-13.
Okay.
But I think Washington has a chance to start the year out at 0-10
Oh
based on
shit.
the schedule.
Okay.
I'm not a Wentz fan anymore.
Yeah.
I I'm off that bandwagon, and it's just like I have them winning the bulk of their games later in the season, especially when they play the team I have at 3-14, which is the Giants. I have like that's half of Washington's wins are against the Giants.
Okay. Yeah, we were pretty far off on this one. And so, I mean, I would say with Dallas, we were close. I had Dallas at 11-6, and I kind of felt like it seemed right for them, but I could also see them falling short, which is just because I don't have a whole lot of faith in McCarthy. Um, I had Washington at 10-7, and so this is obviously where we have some big difference here. And I have no doubt I'm higher than most people on Washington. I was higher than most people on him last year because I thought Fitzpatrick was going to do well there. And obviously he got hurt. It didn't work out, and it was just a fucking disaster. But I feel like Wentz last year statistically had a good year, even though it didn't work out in Indianapolis. As the season went on, he proved that he could actually play good football. And I think if he does that here, he's got a good roster, he's got a good coach. I think they can find ways to get wins, and I think part of it is because they're in an easier division, and so I think that worked in their favor a little bit. After that, I got Philly at 9-8, and um, I like that you had them at 7-10, to be honest, because at 9-8, I already felt like I was dogging them big time. I mean, we talked about they got 5 primetime games. Like everybody and their mom is calling for Philly to be like a freaking powerhouse team this year. I think they're going to be significantly improved, but I'm just not anywhere near as high as other people are, at least not yet. I think they're going to be, I think especially as the season goes on, they're going to get better and better and better. But we got to remember they got a lot of new pieces, and Jalen Hurts is still working his way there. And so I think 9-8 would be a really good year for them. I just have a hard time going any higher than that. And then at the bottom, I was right there with you. I got the Giants at 3-14. I don't really know what to say with the Giants, man. I just think these guys are going to suck it up. And I mean, we've talked a lot about the Giants. I don't know, dude. I just think this team's a disaster. I like the Thibodeau pick, but they got a lot of work to do, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that takes us to the NFC North, James. I'm sure you just been chomping at the bit to do this one.
All right. So I have Green Bay winning this division, no surprise,
Yeah,
at 12-5.
nice.
You talk about teams that the league didn't do any favors to, and then you talk about teams that the league did a lot of favors to, and Green Bay is one of those teams.
Absolutely.
So their Tampa Bay game is between Chicago and New England. Okay, hard game number 1, week 3. Their Buffalo game is between Washington and Detroit. Then they have a couple hard games in a row, Dallas and Tennessee. And then they have a bye and they play the Rams.
Yeah.
The league did a lot of favors to Green Bay. And while I still have them losing to the Rams, I still think they're going to end up 12-5. One of those is I think they're going to lose to Detroit last game of the year.
Okay.
It's just a gut feeling on that.
Sure.
That's all that is. It's not based on anything but a gut feeling, and plus the fact that I had Detroit 8-8 going into that game, and if they win the game, they make the playoffs.
Gotcha.
So I have Detroit number 2 at 9-8. They have some brutal stretches, some interesting stretches during the season, especially right after the bye, where they play Dallas, Miami, Green Bay, and then but their other hard games are kind of sandwiched between. Like in Thanksgiving they play Buffalo, but the week before they play the Giants. The week after they play the Jaguars.
Yep.
So there's some favors done in there, and I just think I tried to temper my excitement on Detroit, and we had talked about it. I glanced at first rip on the schedule, just looking at Detroit's schedule in isolation. I had them between 8 and 10 wins, and you had them between 7. Was it 7 and 9?
Yep.
So I think the league did them some favors with the schedule to get them into the playoffs. Third in the division, which surprised me. This one surprised me a whole hell of a lot. I have Chicago.
Damn.
At 7 and 10.
Okay.
and this I don't know what it was about how their schedule lined up, but they're they're hard games. I mean, non-division games. Yeah, they start off with San Francisco. Obviously, that's going to be a loss. But then you look at the schedule, and then so they play Philadelphia coming off their bye, and Philadelphia that week is coming off the Giants game, which is an emotional game, and they play Dallas. So it's sandwiched between division matchups for Philadelphia. And it's just and then they play Buffalo, Detroit, and finish with Minnesota. And I just that last game of the year is what put Chicago third in division. They're home against Minnesota, so I have them winning that game,
Okay.
finishing 7-10, and then I have Minnesota finishing 6-11. And this is the flip side where they have a couple hard stretch. Minnesota has a couple hard stretches in the season. Like Detroit has the hard stretch. Minnesota has a couple hard stretches in the season, in the middle of the season, and it's just that's why I have them at 6-10 or
Okay.
6-11. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. So we had some differences here too, and that's fine. I mean, that's why we do this. Everybody's got a different look at it. But uh, we started identical. I had Green Bay at 12-5 winning the division. I thought the schedule worked really well for them, and it gives them time to work out some of those kinks in the wide receiver room, like we were talking about earlier. But then I got Minnesota at 10-7, and I'm excited for Minnesota, James. I think it's a dicey prediction because you got a rookie head coach. Um, but I think he's going to keep that offense humming, which
Mm-hmm.
has all the pieces to be a really good offense. I mean, they've been a really good offense. Um, pretty much ever since Justin Jefferson showed up, that like really completed that offense for him. But I like what they did on the defensive side of the ball in the offseason. And I think that's going to help boost this team. Um, and when I was looking at this team, it kind of reminded me of how I felt about the Chargers last year. And I know they fell short at the very end, but it was still a very successful year for them. I think that's what's going to happen here in Minnesota. After that, I got the Lions at 9-8. So we were in alignment there on the record. And you're right, I did have them between 7 and 9 wins. When I went through this, I put them at the top of the range. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid, James, but it just felt right. All right, so I
Mm-hmm.
did it. I'm
No,
taking the high end for now. Yeah, I
I
mean you
I
did it
I
too. I
agree
know.
with you. I didn't I put them I ended up putting them right in the
Yeah,
middle,
right in the middle
but
for yours. Yeah.
it's like you look at the schedule, and for you and I and those out there, we did not talk
No.
about this before we came up with our once we had our final win loss totals is the first time we talked anything about it. And for both you and I, we probably differ with the games we think they could win are,
Yeah.
but it's still for us to come up with the same win total says something.
Oh yeah, I mean we were wildly off the last time we did this, and so
Hmm.
yeah, no, I think that it makes me feel good about the Lions. The thing that's a little bit of a kick in the nuts for me is that when I did this, James, they lost a tiebreaker for the last wild card spot, and so in mine at 9-8, they just missed the playoffs, and so
Who'd you have them losing the tiebreaker to?
I'm still blown away that this happened, but I had them losing the tiebreaker to Arizona.
We'll get to it, but that's the team I have right behind the Lions.
Okay, so shit, man. Yeah, we were closer than I guess what I'm thinking, but all right. And so then at the bottom of the NFC North, I had the Bears, and I think the Bears implode this year. I got them at 3-14. I don't think they did shit for favors to Justin Fields. You got a new regime in there. I just don't think that they're going to be good, man. I think that they'll get a couple of wins at Soldier Field, but I just, man, I don't know. I have a bad feeling about the Bears this year. They're not a defensive team anymore, and they really didn't give Fields a lot of weapons on offense. And so there's not, to me, there's nothing to feel confident in with this team. And so, maybe Fields gets on the field and he takes a huge step up and just starts lighting people up, and then I totally got to change my tune. But for now, I just can't. I don't see any of it, man. All right, so NFC South, what you got, man?
All right. And the weird thing is my NFC South kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm going to start at the bottom because at the top is what surprised me.
Okay.
At last in the NFC South, I have Carolina at 3-14. I just don't like the offseason the Carolinas have.
Yeah, they need a
They need
quarterback.
exactly words out of my mouth. They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. They can't rely on who's
Sam
their
Darnold.
quarterback? Grandpa Jones.
It's going to be Darnold unless they make a move.
Yeah, and it's just and on top of that, they kind of have a rough schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to play at Cincinnati. They have to play at Baltimore. They have to play at Tampa Bay. Well, they have to play at Los Angeles. That's the one I was looking for. And then I saw Tampa Bay. And so they have to play at Los Angeles. They have to play at Cincinnati, and they have to play at Baltimore. It's just their schedule is rough.
Yeah.
All right. Third in the division, I have the Atlanta Falcons. I have them at 6-11.
Okay.
And that's because I kind of like what Atlanta has been doing. They're like, yeah, they traded away Matt Ryan, but I'm hearing good things about Marcus Mariota down there.
Okay.
Good things about him. And so I put them at 6-11. And when I looked at it at the top two in the division, honestly, it's a hard decision to make. You have two new head coaches. You have gunslinger quarterback that kind of gets careless with the ball, and you have old ass Tom Brady. And so I initially thought that New Orleans had a chance, and I have them with a chance to win this division. But I have New Orleans second in the division at 10-7.
Okay.
And what the kicker was for me is they have a really rough week 6 through 13, where they play Cincinnati, Arizona, Vegas, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Rams, San Francisco, and Tampa Bay. And that stretch is what kind of concerns me with New Orleans this year.
Okay.
So I have them finishing the season at 10-7. Then I have Tampa Bay winning the division at 12-5. They have similar teams on their roster, but it's kind of like spread out a little bit. They have like a rough like middle end of the season, but it's after their bye when they'll be refreshed. Where New Orleans, that rough stretch is going into their bye.
Yep.
So I have Tampa Bay at 12-5.
All right. Well, you're going to think I'm a bit of a homer here, but I put Tampa Bay at 15-2. I got them as my top team, and
I could see it. Like I'm not going to
yeah,
knock that. I could definitely see that.
my whole I guess I'm when you put a big record out like this, you got to be concerned with doing it, but it's first off, it's if Brady's arm doesn't fall off a cliff it just feels like this would be the last hurrah. He's just
Hmm.
going to go out and light up as many people as he can. Um, but his arm could fall off a cliff because we see that happen. Like all these great quarterbacks, it happens to him. It happened to Breeze. It happened to Peyton Manning. It just happened last year to Roethlisberger. And when it happens, man, it is ugly. And so if it happens, this prediction just gets blown to shit. The second risk is that it's obviously Todd Bowles is the head coach now. I like him as a head coach. It's just that you've got a new coach, and so there's some risk there. But I put him at 15-2. I'm going with the last hurrah, and it was a little bit wild, but I felt like having fun with it. At number two, I got the Saints at 9-8, and I would like to see them do better than this. I like that you had them at 10-7. I just it's like when I look at the second half of the schedule for them, man, it just looks brutal. And so I would love it if they could get to double-digit wins. I like the Saints roster. I just think they got an uphill battle with the schedule. Carolina, I've got third. I've got them at 4-13, and I had them getting kind of like a couple sneaky wins in the first part of the year, which kind of seems to be the MO for Matt Rule. But I just don't see them really doing anything good this year. Without a quarterback, basically they're banking on McCaffrey staying healthy and carrying them. And I'm already hearing things about them putting McCaffrey on sort of like a snap count and sharing the load and trying to keep him healthy. And I don't know, man. I don't feel good about anything in Carolina. And then I got Atlanta at the bottom at 3-14. I like what you're saying about Mariota, and as the season gets closer, maybe I'll warm up to it. I look at their roster, and it just to me, it is the maybe the second or third worst roster in the league from a talent standpoint. And so I don't know, man. It's going to be hard for them to get wins. But Mariota, I mean, hey, we've heard some positive stuff on him in recent years. And, back like potentially there was like people trying to trade for him when he was with the Raiders. And it's like, that bodes well. I'm putting some pause on it until I guess, hear a little bit more. Okay, so last up here we got the NFC West, James.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So the NFC West surprised me because I thought these records would be better, but like
Yeah.
the schedules are kind of rough. I don't know what it is. All right, so winning the division and the number one seed in the NFC, I have the Rams.
Okay.
I have the Rams going 13-4. This is one of those where there's like a couple games where obviously I have to find a loss on somewhere. And
Yeah.
like so they ended up 13-4. It's just how it played out. As the team that actually wins a tiebreaker over the Lions, but the Lions still make the playoffs, and I'll get to that in a second. You have San Francisco at 9-8.
Okay.
I like San Francisco. I'm frustrated with San Francisco, but I like San Francisco.
I think it's dicey with San
It
Francisco
is. It
until
is
we know
because
what
of
happens with
quarterback and
Lance and Jimmy
Garoppolo.
G.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Then I have Arizona, and I have them in a three-way tie with the Lions as well, but missing the playoffs.
Okay.
And so basically what happened here is I think it was a common games is what it went down to.
Okay.
For it, and Detroit had slightly better common games. San Francisco won the initial tiebreaker because you do the within division tiebreaker first to get it down to teams and whatever. I have Arizona at 9-8. I wanted to put them at 8 and 9. I wanted to put them at 7. I wanted to put them at 2 and 15 because
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of concerns about Kyler Murray.
Well, and Hopkins is out the first 6 games, and
Exactly.
so when mine came up at 9 and 8, I thought, man, how is this even happening? And so like
Hmm.
I scrutinized it pretty good, but it's where it landed, man, on mine anyhow, you know?
Yeah, but and the league and the thing about it is Hopkins is out the first 6 games, but the league kind of did him a favor by having 3 of their toughest, say half their toughest games. If you say they have 6 tough, really super tough games, 3 of them are in the first 6 weeks when you don't have. So I think the league did him a little bit of a favor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's not something that was considered and whatever. I'm not sold on Kyler Murray as being being an elite NFL quarterback.
I got you.
And here's the one that surprised me. It surprised me a whole hell of a lot. And it's because they have Drew Lock as their quarterback. is Seattle. I really think they win only 3 games this year.
Okay.
And I went back through it. I went back through it 4 times, and I couldn't find more than 3 wins on the schedule for them.
Gotcha.
Because we all know who Drew Lock is.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
an NFL quarterback.
He's a wild card.
They probably could win 4 games with me at quarterback over Drew Lock.
Oh, jeez. All right. All right. So at the top, I got the Rams at 12-5. And you know, like you were kind of saying, you had to like sort of fabricate some losses for them. For me, it wasn't as hard to do because when I looked at them, I looked at it as once you're the top dog, it's harder than a lot of people think to stay up there, you know, because everybody's gunning for you when you're the top dog. And so I kind of thought, you know, because of that, I've dropped them down a little bit and it just kind of fell into place. But uh, in second place for the division, I got Arizona at 9-8, and they won a tiebreaker over San Francisco, who I also have at 9-8. And so, James, we had a similar dynamic with the Lions and these teams. It just went the other way. And so, Arizona in mine, so beating San Francisco and then the tiebreaker with the Lions was that they won against more common opponents. And so that's how they got it over the Lions.
Which I had the
Yeah,
opposite.
exactly. Yeah. And dude, I had to like go digging through all the tiebreaker rules, and I was like, oh my God, it's getting complicated. For one of them, there was a 4-team tie. I was like, holy shit, how am I going to figure this out? It was fun though. It was fun to do. And then at the bottom, I've got Seattle at 4-13. And so as much as I like Pete Carroll, I'm with you, James. I don't trust Drew Lock, even though I believe they're putting him in a great position with those wide receivers, with the running backs that they have. I'm just worried because this isn't like the old school Seahawks that can win with defense in a running game. The defense isn't really there anymore. And so I I think they can outperform 4-13, but I just couldn't find it in the schedule right now. So I'm with you, man. You were 3-14, I'm 4-13. We're pretty close. They're gonna be low unless they can pull something out of their you know what.
Exactly.
Well, shit, that was fun, man. All right, so you want to switch it over and go into the playoffs?
I'm down.
All right, let's do it, man. So why don't you run me through your AFC wildcard matchups?
So I have the Chargers and the Titans, the Bengals and the Ravens, the Raiders and the Colts.
Okay.
Well, it pains me to say I have the Colts losing to the Raiders. I just think the Raiders are just that slightly better. I have them at identical records, and because the Colts are division winner, the Colts are the home team, but I think the Raiders win that game.
Gotcha.
Bengals, Bengals and Ravens. I mean, they're playing 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, I have Cincinnati beating them, and it's hard to beat the same team 2 weeks in a row. I just think Cincinnati's that much better than Baltimore. So I have Cincinnati beating the Ravens, and then I have the Chargers beating the Titans. I mean, the Chargers. We'll get to it in a little bit, but Chargers started off with one of my possible dark horse Super Bowl candidates last year.
Yeah.
And I thought they got better this offseason. That should tell you what I think. But I have them beating the Titans, and pretty handily beating the Titans.
Okay. Yeah, so for the AFC wild card, I had at the 2, I had the Chargers against the Broncos at 7, and I had the Chargers winning that one. And then I had at 3, I had Cincinnati playing Kansas City as the 6th seed, and I had Kansas City upsetting, winning that one. And then I had the number 4 Tennessee Titans against the number 5 New England Patriots, and the Titans won that one. Which the Patriots, they were in another one of these weird tiebreaker deals, which is somehow how they got to 5. But either way, I had Tennessee beating them there. So who'd you have on the NFC side for the wild card?
So I had the Bucks as the 2 seed against the Lions as the 7 seed, and I mean, come on,
Yeah,
Lions don't win playoff games. Bucks.
Not yet, not yet, James, not yet.
I had the 3 seed with a tiebreaker, which is the reason why Tampa Bay got the 2 seed versus Green Bay is because they play each other, and I had Tampa Bay winning that game.
Okay.
So Green Bay's the 3 seed playing the 6 seed, the 49ers. Green Bay can't beat the 49ers in the playoffs. 49ers win.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
And then I had the Cowboys playing the Saints. I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on this one. I think this is going to be a really entertaining playoff game. But I think the Cowboys I had to give them the edge because they're at home.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the 2 spot, I had the Packers playing Arizona as the 7, and Green Bay won that one. And then I had the Rams as the 3 playing the Vikings as the 6, and I had the Rams winning that one. And then I had the 4 being the Cowboys playing the Washington Commanders as the 5, and I had Dallas winning that one. Okay, so let's go to the divisional round. Give me your AFC there.
All right, so that leaves, because the Raiders were the 5, and they're the lowest seed remaining. They play the Bills. Bills
Just
steamroll them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Bills win pretty handily. Then, so that leaves the Chargers and the Bengals. And the Chargers and the Bengals. I like this game. This is probably divisional weekend. This is probably the best game that weekend, and I give the Chargers just a slight edge.
Okay. All right. So I had Buffalo against Kansas City as my first matchup, and I had Buffalo winning that one. And then I had the Chargers against the Titans, and I had the Chargers winning that one. And so we've got Buffalo and the Chargers both as our AFC winners there. Who'd you have for the NFC?
All right. So I have the 49ers against the Rams, and I just said Chargers Bengals is probably the most entertaining game of divisional round weekend. This is probably the second best game of the weekend, and I give the edge to the Rams, so I have the Rams winning there. Then I had the Cowboys and the Bucks. I did not know how to pick this game.
Week one all
I
over again now in the playoffs.
Week 1 all over again. I think week 1 Dallas loses to Tampa Bay. I think Dallas beats Tampa Bay here and makes it to the NFC Championship game.
Those good teams, man, they rotate wins. Okay. Well, I had the Buccaneers against the Cowboys here as well. I had the sorry, not the Cowboys. I had the Buccaneers to win, and then I had the Packers against the Rams, and I actually had the fucking Packers to win, which blew my mind. I had to like fucking double, triple check it. Um, but part of it is honestly, as I looked at the Packers, I really feel like their defense is going to get even better and better as the season goes on. I like what they did in the draft, and I think that that could finally get them over this playoff hump. And so I was a little shocked, but it jived in my model. And so I got Tampa Bay as a winner, and I got Green Bay as the other winner. And so then let's go to the conference championship. So you got Buffalo and Los Angeles. Who'd you have winning that one, James?
Dude, this game is going to be a fucking phenomenal AFC
You
championship.
state it like it's fact, like it's just gonna
Phenomenal.
happen. Yeah.
Like fucking A. Like this game's gonna come down to like a last second field goal in overtime.
Okay.
In like the third overtime. And I kept going back and forth on this one. I love both these teams. These are my two best teams in the entire NFL this season. Or two of my top three. These top three teams in the NFL this season. And I'm going to go with Buffalo over the Chargers just barely.
Okay. All right. All right. So I had Buffalo over the Chargers here, and yeah, I think that'd be a hell of a matchup. So for the NFC, who'd you have there?
I have the Rams beating the shit out of the Cowboys.
Nice,
Like
as they should.
45-15.
Yeah, I mean the Cowboys, they were a disaster last year, so yeah, it should happen. Okay, so that has so you got Buffalo against Los Angeles in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I got I had Tampa Bay beating Green Bay in my NFC Conference Championship. So I got Buffalo against Tampa Bay. And so, you know, are you sticking with where you were at when we were talking before, James? Who do you got here?
I can't go back on nothing has happened yet this offseason for me to go back on what I said after the Rams won the Super Bowl. They're running it back and winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
Do you think the Rams are doubling up? Okay.
Yep.
So all right, I picked Buffalo over Tampa Bay. I think this is Buffalo's year, man. I think they're gonna, like I said earlier, I think they're coming back with a vengeance, and they're just gonna be looking to just destroy people.
Yeah, and
I think, yeah.
that
Go
wouldn't
ahead.
surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I kept going this one. I mean, I have it as a virtual tie, so
Yeah, and I mean any of these teams, geez, you never know. And who knows? I mean, frickin' Josh Allen could break his leg, and it might not even matter. But um, I love Buffalo's defense,
mm-hmm.
and I think their offense is just insanely electric. And so, you know, I kind of thought, man, if the GOAT gets there again, he's so cool in the Super Bowl, you know, maybe he pulls it off. But I just had Buffalo getting the edge, and so so yeah, that'll be interesting. So all right, so you got the Rams going back to back. I got Buffalo finally getting one. Um, and yeah, hey, we got, you know, a couple months to see if we change our minds.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, that was going to be question of the week was who was your Super Bowl pick. So I guess we covered that. I was going to pause there, James, but I was just so damn excited we had to go for it. Um, all right, cool. So yeah, for next week, I was looking ahead, and this time last year we did trades we still think should happen. So does that sound like a good topic for you, or you want to think about it?
Yeah, I think that topic works for me.
Okay. Okay, cool.
A couple came to mind instantly, so
Well then I think it's the right thing to do. Okay, good stuff. Well, yeah, so for anybody who's watching, we hope you like the show. If you did, hit us up with a thumbs up or a like or whatever platform you're on. But more importantly, shoot us some comments. Tell us what you thought. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you thought was cool, or whatever. I don't know. Just engage with us. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. James, like always, man, it was a good time, dude. I will talk to you soon.
sounds good. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.